as great of a Knicks season that we just saw completed, Stephen A., I'm just wondering if there's Brown and Tatum just found something and the Celtics are just going to be somewhat unbeatable atop that conference right now, despite how exciting a season the Knicks just had.
I'll tell you that. They certainly looked that way. I certainly wouldn't pick the Knicks to beat them. Make no mistake about them. I thought that the Knicks, fully healthy, would have given them a much tougher matchup than the Indiana Pacers. I certainly think that if the Knicks were healthy, they would have beaten Indiana, and they wouldn't have gone 7 games. But credit to Indiana, who was a potent offense all year long, closing the deal, particularly in that Game 7 when they went up against the infirmary known as the New York Knicks at that time. Everybody and their grandmother was hurt. Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, OG Anunoby, and then obviously Josh Hart, and then Jalen Brunson breaks his wrist and all of this other stuff. So it is what it is, but in the end, the New York Knicks still need a couple of pieces to even compete with the Boston Celtics based on what we've seen throughout these playoffs and in the NBA Finals. You got to look at the rest of the Eastern Conference. Joel Embiid, can you ever stay healthy? Even if you guys acquired Paul George in the offseason, or could you stay healthy? Because without you, you're not going to be the Boston. Giannis and Dame in Milwaukee. Is that enough? We don't know that to be true. And so you got to look at it from that standpoint and really, really question who in the East can really challenge the Boston Celtics, particularly now that you are officially champions and you know how to win and what it takes to win. So that really, really gives them a nod above the rest of the crowd. And then out in the Western Conference, there's far more parity. But who's to say you guys are not going to beat up on one another to the point where ultimately you run into a Boston Celtics squad and you're kind of wondering what you're going to be able to do against them. That's why I think that right now, as the reigning defending champions, the Boston Celtics, who were the favorites coming into the season, should easily be deemed the favorites now.
If I could give you a marker, a Stephen A. Smith marker, an SAS chip that you could place down on a Western Conference team and say, this is the team I'm going to have for the next 5 years, not only going to be successful in the regular season, but going to make NBA Finals, if not win multiple ones. Which one do you place that chip on out west?
None of them. None of them. I would tell you if I had to pick,
yes,
I'd certainly pay attention to Denver. Because if you lose Jeff Brown and Jeff Green, and Bruce Brown,
right,
in the offseason, if you had them, I don't think you lose to Minnesota in that series. If you're Minnesota, you still need a shooter. They don't really shoot the ball that well. So we have to pay attention to that. You look at Dallas. Yeah, you've got some firepower, but you can't bring an undersized guy like Kyrie to go up against the likes of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and those guys, with Derek White and Drew Holiday, who are both legitimate 6'5" guys. And so all of those things come into consideration as you look and you scout the rest of the guys. Don't get me started with the Clippers. Show me that Kawhi Leonard could be healthy for a playoff series, and then you can call me about that. I'm not thinking about that. You look at the Los Angeles Lakers, you got Anthony Davis, you got Anthony Davis, LeBron. But what else do you really have that you can rely upon? And so I just look at the Western Conference and I say the two teams that jump out in my mind are Minnesota and Denver. But Denver has to make up for losing Jeff Green and Bruce Brown. And in the case of the T-Wolves, you got to get another bona fide scorer. And I would say a shooter as opposed to a scorer to pair with a guy like Anthony Edwards. That's what I would think.
What do you think Paul George should do?
Go to the Knicks. If you got the New York Knicks have 11 first-round picks over the next 7 years. I don't think you'd have to give up too much to get him. Obviously, you are going to sign a trade potentially anyway. If he wants to go there in free agency, I don't know if they could pull that off, but they certainly have the assets for trades. Some people say Philadelphia. Joel Embiid has to show me that he can be healthy enough in the playoffs. On one leg, he averaged 35 against the Knicks. We know how sensational of a player he is, but is that going to be enough to do what you need to do in order for you to get over the hump? That remains to be seen. So I would tell him that the best situation, the New York market, the fact that New York needs another scorer other than Jalen Brunson, I would say that is the way to go, because Paul can play the 2 or the 3 for you. You can bring Josh Hart off the bench. You got DiVincenzo with Brunson on the court with him offensively. And because he can play that 3 for you as a defender as well as an offensive player, I think it complements the New York Knicks very, very well.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.